Thank you, Madam President. Sudwind likes to express its gratitude to special procedures for their reports. We are concerned about the high amount of human rights violations regarding human rights defenders in general, including human rights attorneys, journalists and bloggers. This includes the pattern exercise on targeted arrest, arbitrary detention, solitary confinements, torture and other inhuman and degrading treatments, and the very concerning case of criminalization of founding human rights associations and or NGOs and accepting international human rights awards. Emphasizing yesterday's occasion, the International Women's Day, Sudwind likes to draw the Council's attention to the situation of women human rights defenders once again. The aforementioned cases are also applicable to example sentences that have been issued as followed. 6 years of imprisonment for Mrs. Narges Mohammadi, the Vice President of the Defenders of Human Rights Center, which was grounded between all by Iranian Nobel Peace Prize laureate Shirin Ebadi. 6 years of imprisonment for Mrs. Nazanin Khosrawani, women's rights activist and journalist. Such sentences are not limited to women. This post-election pattern repeats with 11 years of jail in exile in the city of Borazjan for Mr. Abdul Fattah Soltani, human rights attorney, and the hunger striker reformist blogger Mr. Mehdi Khazali, already sentenced to 14 years jail in exile, additional 10 years in exile, and 19 flagging, had a second process without access to his files. He is in hunger strike since the first day of his arrest for exactly 61 days. To add that jail in exile is not foreseen in the civil and criminal code of this country. All the above cases are announced just after the 2nd of March 2012, date of parliamentary election in Iran. This shows a widespread pattern of repression which is planned to silence the human rights defenders and journalists, becoming more and more harshly. In conclusion, we would like to ask the Council to consider the worsening situation of human rights in Iran and ask all states to fulfill their obligations under the international law as well as to respect the Universal Human Rights Declaration. I thank you, Madam President.